Welcome to Juba Global News Network, and I'm George. Here are the top 15 global news headlines for today, January 22, 2026. The Guardian, AP, and others. The dominant story revolves around us. Based on prominent coverage from major international sources, like BBC Reuters, Al Jazeera, CNN, President Trump's activities at Davos, particularly the Greenland situation, alongside ongoing conflicts and other developments. 1. Trump announces framework deal on Greenland, backs down on European tariff threats. After talks with NATO, Trump reverses planned tariffs on allies, opposing us. Interest in Greenland, calling it a win for Arctic security. 2. Denmark insists Greenland sovereignty cannot be negotiated. Danish leaders push back against Trump's claims, emphasizing no deal involves ownership transfer, despite the announced framework. 3. Trump to lead signing of Board of Peace Charter for Gaza in Davos. Several countries join the new initiative, but the UK declines over concerns about Russian involvement. More nations sign on. 4. Israeli strikes in Gaza, kill 3 journalists. And others, one of the deadliest days recently, with reports of attacks on journalists, children, and first responders, amid ongoing conflict. 5. US begins transferring ISIS detainees from Syria to Iraq. Up to 7. 0 Islamic State prisoners to be moved, raising concerns about security and potential resurgence in the region. 6. Israel bombs Syria-Lebanon border crossings, kills 2 in South Lebanon. Strikes target multiple sites, escalating regional tensions post-ceasefire. 7. Death toll rises to at least 60 in Pakistan shopping center fire. Tragedy in a major blaze, with ongoing rescue and investigation efforts. 8. Putin says he will meet us. Envoys on Ukraine peace talks discussions set for Thursday, as Trump claims progress on ending the war. 9. Zelensky expected to meet Trump in Davos. Ukrainian leader reportedly heading to the forum for direct talks amid shifting US policy signals. 10. NATO focuses Arctic strategy to counter Russia and China. Secretary General Rutte highlights exclusion of rivals in talks following Trump's Greenland push. 11. Hong Kong national security trial begins for Tiananmen Vigil organizers. Key figures face charges under strict laws, drawing international rights concerns. 12. Japan to restart world's biggest nuclear plant after 15-year shutdown. Move amid seismic risk debates and energy needs. 13. Winter storm threatens heavy snow and ice across much of us, potentially life-threatening conditions expected in nearly 30 states. 14. EU suspends approval of US trade deal amid Greenland tensions. Retaliatory move follows Trump's earlier threats, though recent reversal may ease pressure. 15. Outrage over settler violence and approvals in West Bank. Israeli minister greenlights gun licenses for illegal settlements, while Palestinians report escalating attacks. These reflect the most recurring and high-impact stories circulating today, with heavy focus on geopolitics, Middle East conflicts, and Trump's international engagements. News can evolve quickly. Security concerns and rationale. The primary driver behind the transfers is the rapidly changing security environment in northeastern Syria. As the SDF hands over control of prisons and camps to Syrian authorities, questions arise about the new government's capacity and willingness to maintain strict detention standards. A mass breakout could allow hardened ISIS fighters to regroup, exploit instability, or launch attacks across borders. Experts warn that any large-scale release or escape would represent a major setback in the long-term effort to dismantle ISIS networks. The group, though territorially defeated, retains sleeper cells and ideological appeal, particularly in Iraq and Syria's Sunni communities. The operation also addresses long-standing concerns about the sustainability of SDF-managed detentions, with US troop presence limited. Around 900 personnel in Syria, Washington has sought to reduce reliance on Kurdish forces for long-term prisoner management. Reactions and implications. From Iraqi perspective, Baghdad has welcomed the transfers as a step toward justice for Iraqi victims of ISIS. Officials stress that detainees will face due process in Iraqi courts, though concerns linger about fair trials especially for foreign nationals. Faye Syrian and Kurdish views. The SDF has long pushed for international burden sharing. This move partially relieves their load but raises questions about long-term oversight. Faye international concerns. Human rights groups express worry over conditions in Iraqi prisons, potential torture, or indefinite detention without trial. Some fear the transfers could complicate repatriation efforts for foreign fighters' home countries. Faye broader regional impact. The operation occurs amid heightened tensions in Syria, including clashes between government forces and SDF units. It also intersects with diplomatic efforts in Davos, where leaders discuss Gaza, reconstruction, and global peace mechanisms, highlighting the interconnected nature of Middle East security challenges. Outlook: a step toward stability, or a temporary fix. While the transfers provide immediate relief from breakout risks, they do not resolve the underlying dilemma: what to do with thousands of ISIS-linked detainees in the long term. Repatriation remains politically toxic in many countries, and local prosecutions face capacity and fairness issues. The US move signals a pragmatic shift toward burden sharing with Iraq, a key ally with experience prosecuting ISIS members. Success will depend on secure handling, fair judicial processes, and preventing radicalization in prisons. As the first major prisoner transfer since the caliphate's fall, this operation could set precedents for managing jihadist detainees in fragmented conflict zones. For now, it represents a critical effort to contain one of the enduring threats from the ISIS era, ensuring that defeated fighters do not rise again amid regional chaos. The coming weeks will reveal whether the transfers proceed smoothly or encounter new complications in an already volatile theater. Jasmine, tell us, what's going on with the Greenland situation?
Thank you, George. There are a lot of information regarding Greenland today. Denmark draws a firm line: sovereignty over Greenland cannot be negotiated amid Trump's framework deal. As of January 22, 2026, the geopolitical drama surrounding Greenland continues to unfold with stark clarity. Just one day after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a framework of a future deal on Greenland and the broader Arctic region following talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Davos, Denmark's leadership delivered a pointed and unequivocal response. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen insisted that her nation's sovereignty over Greenland remains non-negotiable, effectively drawing a red line that has tempered optimism about any quick resolution to the transatlantic tension sparked by Trump's renewed pursuit of the Arctic island. This development, which ranked as the #2 global news headline on January 22, underscores the limits of diplomatic maneuvering when core principles of national sovereignty are at stake. While Trump's abrupt de-escalation dropping threatened tariffs on 8 European NATO allies and ruling out military force brought immediate market relief and eased fears of a broader trade war, Denmark's firm stance highlights persistent fractures in the alliance and the enduring sensitivity of territorial integrity in the modern era. The context from escalation to apparent breakthrough: the saga reignited in early 2026 when Trump revived his longstanding interest in acquiring Greenland, first publicly expressed during his initial presidency in 2019, framing the island as vital for U.S. national security due to its strategic Arctic location, vast mineral resources, and role in countering Russian and Chinese influence. Trump escalated pressure dramatically in mid-January. He threatened 10% tariffs rising to 25% by June on exports from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Finland, and Great Britain unless they relented on U.S. claims to right title and ownership of Greenland. Markets reacted with alarm. The S&P 500 dropped over 2% on January 20 amid trade war fears. Gold prices surged and the 4 Volatility Index spiked. The rhetoric grew heated, with Trump initially leaving military options ambiguous before explicitly ruling them out during his Davos speech on January 21. Then came the pivot. After a meeting with Rutte, Trump posted on Truth Social that the two had formed the framework of a future deal regarding Greenland and the Arctic. He described it as potentially forever and complex. emphasizing benefits for security, and announced the tariff threats were off the table. Stocks rebounded sharply, with the Dow gaining over 500 points and the S&P 500 up more than 1%. Yet the announcement was light on specifics. NATO officials, including Rutte, clarified that Danish sovereignty over Greenland did not come up in the discussions. The framework appeared focused on enhanced U.S. military access, mineral cooperation, integration into Trump's proposed Golden Dome missile defense system, and broader Arctic security without any transfer of ownership. Denmark's immediate and uncompromising response on January 22, Prime Minister Frederiksen issued a clear rebuttal. In a statement, she welcomed continued dialogue on Arctic security, but reiterated Denmark's position: we can negotiate on everything political, security, investments, economy, but we cannot negotiate on our sovereignty. Frederiksen emphasized that NATO was fully aware of this stance, and that only Denmark and Greenland could decide matters concerning their territory. She added pointedly, suggesting the talks had not touched on sovereignty transfer, contradicting any implication that a deal compromising Danish control was in play. Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen echoed this sentiment, calling Trump's decision to drop tariffs and rule out force a better note to end the day. He urged sitting down to address U.S. security concerns while respecting the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark. Rasmussen described Danish sovereignty as a red line that remains non-negotiable. Greenlandic voices reinforced the message. Ahek Hemnitz Larsen, a Greenlandic member of the Danish parliament, declared that NATO having any say over Greenland's sovereignty or minerals was completely out of the question. Some Danish MPs expressed frustration that Greenland appeared sidelined in the U.S. NATO discussions, highlighting concerns over self-determination and exclusion from key talks. Why sovereignty remains non-negotiable, Greenland's status is deeply intertwined with Danish CX, identity and constitutional principles. As an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark since the 2009 Self-Government Act, Greenland enjoys significant self-rule, including over internal affairs, resources, and foreign policy in certain areas. Full independence remains a long-term aspiration for many Greenlanders, but any external imposition, especially from a major power like the U.S., would undermine both Danish authority and Greenlandic aspirations. The island's strategic value is undeniable: vast rare earth minerals critical for technology and defense, thawing sea routes opening new shipping lanes, and military positioning in an increasingly contested Arctic. Yet Denmark views any compromise on sovereignty as a violation of fundamental values, identity, borders, and democracy, echoing Frederiksen's earlier parliamentary statements that we cannot negotiate our very fundamental values, sovereignty, the identity of our countries, and our borders. This stance aligns with broader European sensitivities to territorial integrity, especially amid ongoing conflicts like Russia's war in Ukraine. Threatening or pressuring an ally over land risks eroding trust in NATO. An alliance built to protect, not challenge member sovereignty, broader implications for transatlantic relations. And the Arctic, Denmark's firm line has several ripple effects. Alliance dynamics. The episode exposes vulnerabilities in NATO unity. While Rutte and others focused on practical security cooperation, Trump's aggressive rhetoric and sudden reversal have left allies wary of future unpredictability. Arctic geopolitics, with Russia militarizing its Arctic coast, and China seeking investments, enhanced cooperation is needed. Denmark has signaled openness to talks on security, bases, and the Golden Dome, but only within sovereign boundaries. Market and economic stability. The tariff rollback provided relief, but lingering uncertainty could resurface if negotiations stall. Greenlandic self-determination. Many residents oppose U.S. control, preferring autonomy or independence within the Danish framework. Excluding Greenland from talks risks alienating locals and complicating any future agreement. Looking ahead, as negotiations potentially continue, Denmark's message is clear: progress on Arctic security is welcome, but sovereignty is off limits. Trump may frame the framework as a win, but without Danish and Greenlandic buy-in on core issues, it remains more aspiration than substance. The Greenland question, once dismissed as eccentric, has become a litmus test for 21st century alliance politics, resource competition, and respect for sovereignty in a multipolar world. Denmark's resolute defense of its red line ensures the conversation continues, but on terms that preserve national integrity above all. In the frozen expanse of the Arctic, the battle for influence is far from over. Thank you. Back to you, George.
US begins transferring up to 7,000 ISIS detainees from Syria to Iraq, a high-stakes security move amid regional instability. January 22, 2026. In a significant and urgent operation announced on January 21, the United States military has initiated the transfer of Islamic State ISIS detainees from detention facilities in northeastern Syria to secure locations in Iraq. U.S. Central Command CENTCOM confirmed that the first batch of 150 fighters has already been moved from a facility in Hasaka, Syria, with plans to potentially relocate up to 70 individuals in total. This development, which ranked as the number 5 global news headline on January 22, reflects mounting concerns over prison security as Syrian government forces rapidly expand control over areas long held by the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, DF, the U.S.'s primary partner in the fight against ISIS. The transfers come at a critical juncture in Syria's evolving post-Assad landscape, where shifting territorial control has raised fears of potential prison breaks, escapes, or even a resurgence of ISIS activity. The operation underscores the fragile balance of security responsibilities in the region nearly 7 years after the territorial defeat of the so-called ISIS Caliphate in 2019. Background. The SDF has detained thousands of suspected ISIS fighters and their family members in makeshift prisons and sprawling camps across northeastern Syria. These facilities, many built or expanded with us, estimates place the total number of male detainees at around 90. Phaeton 0. Support hold a mix of Iraqi nationals, Syrians, and foreign fighters from dozens of countries, with thousands more women and children in displacement camps, like Al-Hol. The SDF's autonomous administration has repeatedly called for international repatriation of foreign fighters and sustainable solutions for local detainees. Western governments have been slow to act, citing security risks and legal complexities, leaving the burden largely on Kurdish forces with limited resources. Recent developments have intensified the urgency, as Syrian government forces, backed by Russia and aligned militias, advance into SDF-held territory following the collapse of the Assad regime. Control over key prisons has become contested. Reports of a jailbreak earlier in the week highlighted vulnerabilities, prompting swift U.S. action to prevent a large-scale escape that could revive ISIS networks. The transfer operation, details, and scope, according to CENTCOM's official statement. The mission aims to facilitate the orderly and secure transfer of ISIS detainees to Iraqi government-run correctional institutions. Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander, emphasized that the move is critical to preventing a breakout that would pose a direct threat to the United States and regional security. Initial phase, 150 detainees, described as Iraqi and foreign terrorists involved in past violence against Iraqis, were transferred from Hasaka to an unspecified secure site in Iraq. Potential scale, up to 70 individuals, could ultimately be relocated, representing a substantial portion of the detained ISIS population in Syria. Coordination. The transfers are being conducted in close cooperation with the Iraqi government, which has confirmed receipt of the first group, and designated federal prisons in provinces like Suleimani, Diq, Kar, and Baghdad for high-profile ISIS members. Iraqi officials have described the incoming detainees as including both Iraqis and foreigners previously involved in atrocities. The Iraqi government has prepared specialized facilities to handle them securely.
The Azande Kingdom had reaffirmed its commitment to discouraging youth from violence and instead mobilizing them to participate in the farming activities following the donation of more than 20 farming tractors by the government of China to boost food production and reduce poverty in western Equatoria State. Emanuela Joyce has more in the following story.
As part of efforts to shift community focus toward peaceful and productive livelihoods, the government of China, through its ambassador to South Sudan, Ma Guang, has handed over 20 farming tractors to the king of the Azande Kingdom, His Majesty Atrobapeni Rikito Budwe. The donation is aimed at enhancing food production across Western Equatoria State, widely regarded as one of South Sudan's most fertile regions and often described as the country's breadbasket. The majority of the population in the region depends on agriculture as a primary source of livelihood, and the support is expected to modernize farming practices and significantly increase production. King Atrobapeni expressed appreciation to the Chinese government, describing the tractors as a vital step towards transforming and developing agriculture within the Azande Kingdom.
Nobody can give to another person for free unless he knows that person that to whom is giving. That can enable that person to give such gift to that person. It seems that the Chinese people have known Azande in the whole of South Sudan, not only here. If it is work, our people are strong in working.
The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Peace Building, Pierre Philippe, said the agricultural machinery symbolizes a strong and genuine partnership between the government of South Sudan, the Azande Kingdom, and the People's Republic of China.
You have demonstrated a true partnership spirit. This partnership, Your Excellency, is the beginning of transformation to our community, the beginning of peace building and stability in the Republic of South Sudan, the beginning of a mechanized agriculture. It is a revolution from subsistence agriculture to a mechanized and market-oriented production.
Chinese Ambassador Ma Guang reiterated that food security remains a key priority for China, affirming his country's continued support to South Sudan's efforts to achieve self-sufficiency in food production.
Our support for the agricultural development of the Azande Kingdom is not only a testament to the profound friendship between China and South Sudan, but also positively echoes President Salva Kiir Mayardit's initiative. I believe that these agricultural machines will play an important role in increasing grain output and improving people's lives in the Azande Kingdom.
Despite Western Equatoria's vast agricultural potential, officials say poor road infrastructure continues to hinder the transportation of farm produce to major markets, particularly Juba, that needs sustaining long-term solution. Reporting for SSBC, I am Emanuela Joyce Nicola.
Military convoy led by the Chief of Defense Forces General Paul Nang traveled along the Juba-Bor Highway to bind it Payam in Jonglei State, where government forces are currently stationed. The troops, drawn from divisions 3, 5, and 12, are preparing to advance into areas held by SPLA in opposition IO forces, including Pajut. General Nang instructed the forces to maintain professionalism and discipline as they carry out their mission, stressing the need to restore stability and protect civilians nationwide. The inspection comes amid renewed clashes in Pajut and rebels threatening to advance towards Bor and Juba. The developments, the military says, undermine the ongoing unification of forces and the permanent ceasefire under the peace agreement.
ده ما يوم كلام
ده يوم بتاع تنظيم
ده يوم دارين ننظم عشان نخش في مالك بدل
ما ضربتها
ما ضربتها قدام
من الفوق جهاز فوق بتاع جهاز قاعد في فوق تاب
الله يقول لنا نبي نعمله في الدق ذاته
ما في مشكلة فوق بتاع جهاز قاعد في فوق تاب أنا شفتكم أنتم رجال
انتم داروا كل شال انتم رجال مساويين فضل ورا
الزول بتاع كتيبة 131
131 في دار وار فريق
كلام ده نقول لكم
هذا دار اقول لكم
نحن جبناكم نحن جماعين لنا مشكلة قدامنا
في كلام مني
الكلام القدام ده
القدام هناك
أنا اديتكم 7 يوم بس ينتهي
General Nang also linked the Jonglei operation to the planned Warabe state disarmament, saying restoring security in Jonglei will allow the military to shift attention to the disarmament exercise as part of broader efforts to achieving the national stability.
Benini nena machine wale Warabe disarmament.
Nana rajile
Kalamba wapi? Kama fu? Mimi wale mchile disarmament tuta Warabe dare ni ntai kaman.
Gabal al-Mata. 4 يوم. كلام بطال في دولة.
91 adu jaw mara for board.
91 وجاينا نانا كنا في جلين.
2013 jaw mara for board.
2013 مرين. داكر بتوع ما بمرين.
ده كلام ده يكون آخر.
آخر.
التمرد الموجود إن ده لازم ينتهي.
انتهى خلاص.
عشان يوم تاني كله.
Senior security officials, including the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of Internal Security, the National Security Service, are also invited to boosting troop morale. The army says it will not tolerate pockets of insecurity anywhere in the country, and that operation will forever put to an end to rebel activities in Bor of Jonglei State. Reporting for SSBC News, Mathiang Joseph.
Moving on to Jonglei State, where as part of the maintaining peace and security, the SSPDF forces have reinforced their presence across several counties in the state following intensified SPLA-IO activities, including the recent attack on Pajut area in Duke County that displaced more than 20,000 people. The Chief of Defense Forces, General Dr. Paul Nang, and expected government forces is stationed at Padiet Payam to boost morale in preparation for liberating the SPLA-IO held areas, including Pajut. Our SSBC reporter, Mathiang Joseph, files us this report.
A military convoy led by the Chief of Defense Forces General Paul Nang traveled along the Juba-Bor Highway to Bidit Payam in Jonglei State, where government forces are currently stationed. The troops drawn from divisions 3, 5 and 12 are preparing to advance into areas held by SPLA in opposition IO forces, including Pajut. General Nang instructed the forces to maintain professionalism and discipline as they carry out their mission, stressing the need to restore stability and protect civilians nationwide. The inspection comes amid renewed clashes in Pajut and rebels threatening to advance towards Bor and Juba. The development, the military says, undermine the ongoing unification of forces and the permanent ceasefire under the peace agreement.
Fukuwa bita jihaz guide report up.
Allah ya ila nambi na amulu fi duk zatu.
ما في مشكلة فوق أنا شفتكم أنتم رجال
انتم داروا كل شال انتم رجال المساوين فضل ورا
زول بتاع كتيبة 131
131 في دار وار فريق
كلام ده نقول لكم
هذا دار اقول لكم
نحن جبناكم نحن جماعنا المشكلة قدامنا
في كلام مني
الكلام القدام ده
القدام هناك
أنا اديتكم 7 يوم بس ينتهي
General Nang also linked the Jonglei operation to the planned Warabe state disarmament, saying restoring security in Jonglei will allow the military to shift attention to the disarmament exercise as part of broader efforts to achieving the national stability.
Benini nena machine wale Warabe disarmament
nana rajile
kalambe wazi ama fum minta wa namshi disarmament buta Warabe dare ni tai kaman
قبل المطر 4 يوم كلام بطال في دولة
91 adu jaw mara fa bor
91 وجاينا نانا كنا في جلين
2013 jaw mara fa bor
2013 ومرين داكر بتوع ما بمرين
ده كلام ده يكون اخر التمرد الموجود ان ده لازم ينتهي
خلاص
عشان يوم ثاني كله
Senior security officials, including the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of Internal Security, the National Security Service, are also invited to boosting troop morale. The army says it will not tolerate pockets of insecurity anywhere in the country, and that operation will forever put to an end to rebel activities in Bor of Jonglei State. Reporting for SSBC News, Mathiang Joseph.
Thank you, Mathiang Joseph, for that update.